See when you give you the green light.
Yep. Oh, check out my new Batman poster. You see that? Crazy from the animated version. That's my favorite one.
Oh wait, like we lost Eric. He's muted right now.
Oh, what about now? You good? Can you hear me?
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that wall together back there. Nisha, it looks like you're on mute.
Wait, no, it's hold on one second. I think it's duplicating it's a delay in the audio.
Is it on my end?
Saying there's a delay in the audio. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yep, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. Let's see.
Welcome, everyone. We're taking care of a little technical issue and we'll be getting started soon. So thank you for your patience.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah. All right. It is 2:01, so we can go ahead and get started. I'm so excited. We are back with Bring a Hacker to Work Day. So this is our weekly workshop where we actually talk with people who are out here in the streets hacking, and anything under the cybersecurity umbrella. And we have one of my favorite humans on earth out here today, Eric Thomas. So I'm very excited, aka Blue Team Thomas. I see Jedi stepped in out of the cloak and dagger to come listen. I'm very excited about that also. So the way that we generally do this is, we have our guests and they talk about how they got to, where it is that they are, what they attribute to that, and, how they think other people can get there. And then we'll open up for some Q&A. So I want to introduce my favorite Blue Teamer, Eric Thomas.
Hi, everybody. My audio good? All right. Like Tanisha said, my name is Eric Thomas, resident Blue Teamer, OG supporter of Black Girls Hack. I put my hoodie back there so you guys can see it's all faded. That's how long I've been down. So my hoodie's fading now. But like she said, my name is Eric Thomas. Been in technology for a really, really long time. I often tell people it's the only thing I've ever done in my adult life. I worked as what they call back then when I was in high school. I worked as a computer lab assistant is what it was called then. And from there, while I was in college, and I actually went to college to be an English teacher. It's a really funny story that we'll probably get into. But I actually went to college to be a teacher. And I worked at a computer repair shop while I was in college. And got out of college and did my student teaching, and I hated it. It was the worst. It was the worst job I had. I realized I didn't like other people's kids, and that was like that's an essential part of teaching, believe it or not. I hated it, and I was actually hanging out with a friend at a pool hall, and he was like, well, what would you do for free? And I was like, well, nothing. I wouldn't do anything for free because I like money. He's like, what do you enjoy doing? And I was like, well, I really enjoy computers and technology. And from there, I got a job in desktop support. And, while working in desktop support, got into networking. Then after networking, got into cybersecurity. And, that's where I am today, sort of riding that line between SecOps and cloud security is sort of what I do. Tanisha and I met a couple years ago through some of the different Black in cyber groups, and just immediately hit it off. And we've been friends ever since. And I am fortunate to say I was there before Black Girls Hack was a nonprofit. I was there when Black Girls Hack was a dream. and, you know, just really, really supportive of what she was doing. So that is sort of the overall story. That's the TLDR version of my story. And I'm a teacher. I'm an instructor for Cover 6. I teach the SOC analyst prep course. And the way we teach, not to squeeze a huge promo spot in here, but the way we teach is basically hands-on. We are all about teaching you the job. It's not certification centered. You know, we often tell people it's probably a good idea to have a Security Plus or Network Plus when you come to our courses, because we teach you to do the job. We don't teach you to get a certification. We're not teaching you basic fundamentals and terminology. We're teaching you how to be a great SOC analyst. And so I think the course is very, very valuable in that aspect. So yeah.
So on that topic, you talked about actually teaching the job and not the search. You've got some pretty strong feelings. We've had a lot of discussions over the years about your feelings about being having to get certifications or having to get a degree, or, you know, so you want to talk to the folks about your thoughts about, you know, how you can succeed in this here cyber world?
Yeah, so I do. I do have very strong feelings about certification, and if you're following me on Twitter, after midnight, you've probably seen some belligerent rants about those feelings. But generally speaking, I entered technology at a very different time. When I entered, certifications weren't as big of a thing as they are now. People are often surprised when I tell them I worked in technology for 7 years before I got my very first certification. Which was the CCNA. It wasn't a thing. And quite frankly, I feel like we are very dependent on certifications in a way that certification and degrees in a way that excludes a lot of marginalized groups. I mean, you know, I didn't have any money, so going to college for technology wasn't really a thing I could do, and I couldn't afford the certifications and all these additional trainings that people want to see on your resume. And it's like, what does a person do who can't afford these things, right? What does a person do who doesn't have the money to do those things? And it's like, they can spend all this time learning this stuff, but because of that barrier, right? Because it's a sort of, with these certifications, these credentials, we operate on sort of this, pay to play model. It's like some of the smartest people out there don't have certifications, not because they can't get them or because they can't test, but because those things are expensive. You think you're talking about, I think the Security Plus and the Network Plus now are like, what, I got $500? Or am I completely off?
I think they're 400 now. They actually just went up.
That's insane.
In January 1st.
Yeah, you're talking $400, and CISSP is sitting right at $800. Which is not an entry level cert, by the way. Please do not go get a Security Plus and then go get a CISSP, folks. It's not a good look. But and we won't even get started on SAN certs. Oh my God. SAN certs are down payments on cars at this point.
They're down payments on whole houses at this point.
Yes. I mean, or VMware certs. Oh my God. don't like. Yeah. So, generally speaking, I think that saying all of that, certifications are necessary. Unfortunately, they're required for anyone who wants to get into this industry or who wants to get a job in this industry. And that's an HR thing. I meet a bunch of brilliant technical minds who don't have certifications. I meet people who are mediocre who have a ton of certifications, and then I meet people who understand, like, I got a certification because I needed it to show up on a resume. And I think that's where we are. But I think as an industry, we need to get more involved in that hiring practice, and we need to get more involved in HR, so that HR thinking, so that we can say, okay, well, maybe this person doesn't have a certification, but these are the skills that we're actually looking for. Is there a way we can get those skills? And I do want to talk to people, because I know there are a lot of people who are just getting into cyber, and it's really frustrating. And you get frustrated and you say things about the industry. Unfortunately, for those of us who work in corporate, a lot of times it's extremely bureaucratic. So I gave this example on a podcast I did a while ago on Textual Chatter's podcast. Shout out to Henry. But if 200 people apply for a SOC analyst role in my SOC, right? and I do want to make this clear. My SOC is not an entry level SOC, right? But if 200 people apply, I'll only get to interview 5 people. And I don't get to pick who those 5 are before those resumes come to me. So a lot of it is this business, HR, bureaucratic sort of thing, because they run it through a system and they do all of their stuff. And then I get 5 resumes in my inbox and I get to review those. And sometimes it's lucky when people reach out to me and I can pull their resume. But if that doesn't happen, then most of the time it's just like, these are the 5 people I got.
So one of the things that happened a whole lot over, at the beginning of COVID, we were on Clubhouse a lot, and, we had all these hiring managers on there that were saying, hey, I will pull somebody out, if I think they've got potential. I will do this if I think they've got potential. But like you said, when it comes down to it, the hiring managers are not seeing, all 200 people who are applying. They're
Absolutely.
seeing the people who have made it past the ATS and HR in order to, actually get to them. And I think that those people have to have, I always say some kind of mix of certifications, education and experience, right? There's some magic number that is different for, I think, whatever job you go to apply for. There's some magic combination of those things and or who because I think that you can kind of bypass a lot of the certs, experience and degrees if you know the right people. But a lot of folks do not network at the level where they can kind of like bypass these. So what are your thoughts on that? You like you said, 200 people are applying. Some of those folks might be, dope people, but you're seeing 5 of those.
Yeah, I think you said the main thing is networking. You want to get to know as many people as you can in the industry, specifically looking for hiring managers. LinkedIn and Twitter are great tools for that. Social media in general, meetups, Discord, Slack channels. These are all great ways to network and to connect with people. Going to conferences, even if it's virtual conferences. Hopefully we'll get back to in-person conferences. For me, early in my career, that was a big thing. I always volunteered for the registration desk because you get to see everybody who comes. And you get to see every name badge. So as I literally, this was probably illegal and some sort of invasion of privacy. But if I saw a name badge and it was a hiring manager of a company that I want to work for, I give them their lanyard and I write their name down. So it's like, okay, I want to run into that person later, or I want to find them on LinkedIn. I would do stuff like that at conferences. So I always signed up for the registration desk. I didn't want to volunteer for anything else. I wanted the registration desk because I would literally get to see everybody. And it normally means you got to show up a day earlier. So you may have to pay for a night in the hotel, or something like that, or extra night in the hotel. But it was worth it. It was worth it. I've never applied for a job on like a job board. It's always been, me knowing somebody, or just word of mouth and talking to people.
Yeah, I was about to say, typically, I've always gone at this job thing solo. So, if you look at my resume, you'll see that I'm out here trying to juke the stats. I've got the certifications, I've got the degrees. I'm trying to make sure that as a Black woman named Tanisha, that, I can get through the ATS because I didn't know the people. I didn't talk to people. I was basically trying to game the algorithms. But, you're saying, hey, here's a cheat code. There's another way to kind of approach it. If you know the people, you don't even have to, go through the ATS. You don't have to go through, a lot of the hoops and hurdles that the people who go through the front door go through. You can go through the side. And I feel like the information about, working the registration desk is like a major key, because it's like, that way you can introduce yourself. If you're working on your brand and you're trying to increase your visibility, you can introduce yourself to, everybody who's coming to pick up their lanyard.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do was, so I would, before I go, right, I would make a list of companies that were going to be there who I wanted to make sure that I interacted with. Right. And so at this point, I was in the networking world. So it was anybody from Cisco, anybody from Juniper, anybody from HP, and any other shops, big metal shops that I wanted to work in. So I make a list of those companies, and then I start doing OSINT, right? I would get on LinkedIn. I would get on Twitter. I would get on Facebook. I'd find anybody who from those companies who mentioned the conference, right? and I would look for, okay, this person's going, this person's going, this person's going, this person's going. And I would have like a list in my phone at the registration desk so that when I saw that person, I could go, you work for FedEx Services. I see that you guys are, I read somewhere online that you guys are launching Project XYZ. I'd love to chat with you about it. Can we connect a little bit later? Here's my card. Boom. And that was a time when business cards were a thing. But here's my card. Or somebody from Axiom comes up and it's like, oh, hey, I saw you guys were working on and I don't know, right? But I saw somewhere on social media, because I've done OSINT, that you guys are doing a refresh and you're moving from Cisco platform to HP's platform. I really like to hear the thought process behind that. Like, how are your engineers handling it? Are you getting rid of your Cisco guys and bringing HP guys in? And that's how I would start conversations. And this was strictly from OSINT, right? Because I looked up some network engineer for Axiom and saw him talking about an HP course, a 5-day HP course he was having to go to because work was changing to HP switches. And I'm like, gotcha. I know what conversation to bring up now. So yeah, I would use those tactics, right, to strike up conversations. And so, as we're at, how these conferences go, the opening night, there's always some sort of mixer or happy hour or something like that. I go over, I'd walk the room and say, okay, there's the guy I need to connect with. He's drinking an old fashioned. Bartender, 2 old fashions, boom. And now I'm headed over there, grab a couple drinks, say, hey man, I don't know if you remember me. I'm Eric, met at the registration desk. If you got a minute, I'd love to talk to you about that project, and hand him the drink. He's going to finish the drink. So I at least got him. If he's a fast drinker, I at least got him for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? In that 5 minutes, I'm going to talk to him about the project. But me talking about the project is like, yeah, so I think it's interesting that you guys are moving to HP, because when I worked with HP XYZ, and yeah, I ran into this issue and this is how I fixed it. And, normally their reaction is like, oh, that's cool. Never thought about that. Oh, we may run into something like that. Do you mind shooting me like a write-up on what you did? Hell yeah, I'll shoot you a write-up. My resume is going to be attached too, by the way.
Right.
So that's how I would network, right? I would, and I think it's our nature as hackers, right? We try to game the system somehow. And so that was my strategy at those conferences. And I hate that so many people don't get to do those in-person conferences, because that is how I did a lot of my networking in the beginning.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we're trying to get done this year. We brought, I think it was 7 folks to DEF CON last year in Black Hat. So my goal this year is to try to get 20 people, to Las Vegas for those conferences, so they can actually, experience that, because I think that it's not something that, you would typically see, especially if you're just trying to get into the industry. It's like LinkedIn, but in person, and it's crazy, because the folks are there and you can talk to them, and, they're giving out stuff as well, so it's just like, the first day of college, but you have the benefits of getting hired.
Seriously. And they let their hair down. I mean, it's much different messaging someone on LinkedIn than like, oh, you're at this mixer and everybody's having drinks. And, like I said, you've done your OSINT. So, this guy's a Bears fan. So you run up to him and talk about the Packers. And now he hates you a little bit, but he's interested in having the conversation. Right. So little hacks like that. And, social engineering is, if I was a red teamer, would be one of my specialties, because it's kind of one of my specialties now. But yeah, like hacking your job search comes down to that kind of stuff, right? If you can talk to people about your experiences and what you've done and the issues you've run into, and mind you, for the people who are listening, half of this stuff I didn't even do at work. Half of this stuff was issues I ran into in a lab. They didn't care. I'm telling them, like, I ran into this issue and this is how I fixed it. I was running into issues with a T1 and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, what was your name again? Where do you work? And I'm like, oh, I'm a network analyst, at Campbell Clear. They're like, you work in a knock? And I'm like, yeah, but I try to, think a little bit outside the box and try to, work with the engineers. And they're like, oh, we should talk, So Yeah, networking. And you can replicate this to some extent on Twitter and on, and on LinkedIn, but it's a little bit more difficult. When you don't have that alcohol as that social lubricant, like sort of like we had at conferences.
So you're a SOC manager now. You're out here and you're responsible for hiring people. But I remember 2 years ago when we first met, and you were out here putting the time in the lab. You were building stuff. You were playing with all the tools on the side. And this was all outside of gaining actual job experience. Can you talk to the folks about, like, as a blue teamer, what you have to do in order to kind of like prepare yourself for the job market? Because I know we do a red team version of a home lab, but what does that look like for a blue teamer?
Yeah, good question. So essentially, it looks pretty similar, right? Where we use a lot of VMs. My basic home lab is a Kali VM, where I have a lot of the attacks that I want to run. I've been using Atomic Red Team a lot. I don't know if one of the mods wants to get a link to that, but Atomic Red Team is essentially it's automated Metasploit. Basically, you can let it loose in your environment, and it'll run a bunch of different attacks. It'll look for vulnerabilities. It'll go through the entire kill chain. And anybody who's not familiar with kill chain, I'll walk through that and explain that. But it'll go through the entire kill chain. And what I would do is I would use open source tools to look for what that Atomic Red Team did. Look for the attacks that they did. So my basic setup was a Kali box, where I could run with Metasploit, with the Metasploit framework installed. Atomic Red Team, I ran that in a container on the Kali box because I'm not balling like that. I only had 16 gig of RAM, so I had to, I gotta preserve. And yes, I had Atomic Red Team. I had my Kali box. I had a couple Windows servers. I had and a couple Windows desktops. So I had a member server and I had a domain controller. And then I had a couple desktops on there. And I had created a few admin users, 2 with a weak password, 2 with really strong passwords. And yeah, I run those attacks. So that's one thing, labbing, run attacks, and then use something like Metasploit or Atomic Red Team where you don't know exactly what happened and try to find it. Try to see if you can walk your way back through it. So on my box, the box I use to do my investigations, I have a Security Onion instance running on it. I have a Splunk sandbox instance running on it. I have Wireshark. I have Suricata. I have a few other tools like that we use to do investigations. And yeah, I look for those attacks. I try to see if I can figure them out. And then when I see one that I didn't figure out or that I couldn't figure out how it's done, then you can go to Metasploit or you can go into Atomic Red Team, run that specific attack, or do your Googles on it and try to figure out how that attack takes place. So that's one way on the technological side of things. Also, one of the things I recommend is taking Cover 6 SOC Analyst Prep Workshop because we go hands-on with all of that. And like I said, it's not like certification based. We go through actual scenarios. Often I pull a lot of actual phishing emails and actual malware from my work, right? So you get to play with actual stuff that is happening in, a Fortune, I guess we're Fortune 20 at this point, Fortune 20 company, right? You get to play with actual malware, actual phishing emails, actual stuff. So that's one way to practice labbing. Another thing is threat intelligence, being really, really good at knowing what attackers are doing. MITRE ATT&CK framework is, another certification that I have, something I study a lot. Watching the threat feeds. I use Feedly, and I basically set up, and I could, I'd love to do like just an open source threat intelligence for you, Niche, if you ever want me to do it.
Absolutely.
I got you. But I use Feedly, and Feedly is really cool because you can put hundreds of sources into basically like a timeline, the way you would do it on Twitter. And so you can put all of these threat sources and see all of these CVEs, and CVEs are basically vulnerabilities that have been discovered and reported. And you can put all of that stuff into one timeline. And every morning I get up at 6 a.m. and, the first thing I do is I spend, an hour just reading through threat feeds. And you go, okay, well, here's a vulnerability in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. We have this in our environment. Let me make a note to send an email to our Linux engineers and say, hey, this vulnerability was discovered. Is it patched? Are we safe? So those are the kind of things that you do as a blue teamer to sort of practice and stay sharp. You really have to know what attacks are out there. Having a bunch of red team friends helps, right? So yeah, lab. I mean, but nobody gets away from labbing. I still have to lab all the time.
So I always say, in order to be a good red teamer, you have to understand what the blue team is doing. It's the same true for blue teamers. Like, I know that you're out here hacking, but is that just because you're good at your job, or is that because it's necessary requirement for a SOC person?
I think it makes you good at your job. I think my investment in red teaming and hacking is what makes me good at my job, right? So it helps you identify. So I know this isn't a blue team course, but and Tanisha, you've heard me talk about the pyramid of pain before, but pyramid of pain is basically the concept was created by David Bianco. He has a really good white paper on it on SANS, but it's essentially a pyramid that represents the difficulty and the types of what we call IOCs, or indicators of compromise, that we would see in the wild, right? And at the bottom, you have your trivial things. Like, it's super easy to change for an attacker, and it's super easy to find. And that's like hashes, right? How SHA-1, SHA-2 hashes work is you can do something, an attacker could do something as simple as recompile their code, and the hash of it will change, or add an additional space at the beginning or the end of one line of code, and the hash completely changes. It's why hashes are effective and they work. So understanding those little things, that those are trivial. The thing that we focus on, and the thing that makes you a great SOC analyst and a great blue teamer in general, is where you learn to string together IOCs and create specific behaviors, right? So if I see certain things, certain correlations happen, then I can almost guess through experience and through understanding attacks, I can almost guess what's happening. So I'll use a sort of a real but easy example, right? So let's say, I'm working in a SOC and I see 175 failed login attempts on one user account within 14 minutes, right? In my early days, I would have been like, oh my God, somebody from China is trying to brute force us. But it's like, now, as a more experienced person, I'm like, okay, that's just one IOC. Actually, all this alert is telling me that somebody failed to log in 175 times. So the real knowledge, the real thing that sets you apart is two things: understanding the normal patterns of business activity. So how does your company do business, right? The who, the what, the when, the where, the technical aspects of how your company does business. And there's another pyramid that was created by yours truly called the pyramid of the pattern of business activities. David Bianco helped me work on it, and he loved the idea, but it's basically how you should understand patterns of business activities. So you got that stuff, and then you have to understand that cyber kill chain or MITRE attack framework to understand that process flow. So if you have these logons, right? The first question I would ask as an experienced SOC analyst is, okay, well, what was the Microsoft code? Was it 4771? Was it a 4625? Because I don't care about a 4771. I care about a 4625 because that means that there was an interactive login. That means that somebody typed that password in wrong, right? And so, that guides you down a better path, right? So it's like, because it could be a non-interactive login where somebody created a service, right? And then they changed their password and they forgot to go update that service. And now that service or scheduled task that tries to run every 2 minutes is failing, because they forgot to update their password in that scheduled task. So just being able to correlate that knowledge, right? You have to know more than just the attack. And I think that's what kind of takes you further on the blue team side, right? So I have to understand the attack. So I have to understand what a brute force attack is, what a spray and pray attack is, what password clipping is, what pass the hash is, what rainbow tables are, what I have to understand what dictionary attacks are. I have to understand what those things are. And then I have to understand, okay, now that I know what things are, what type of logs do they produce? What type of errors do they produce? What happens if you try it on Windows? What happens if you try it on Linux? What happens if you try it on a Mac? Where can I find this? Where's the network traffic? Where I have to know what log file captures all this information, because people talk shit about, people don't like Windows, but one of the things about Windows is, and red teamers hate this, Windows logs everything somewhere. Every single thing you do is logged in Windows. That's one of the things I love about Windows. As far as I love about defending it. My daily driver is Linux Ubuntu, by the way, if anybody had that question. But one thing I love about Windows is it logs everything. So I forgot what your question. Oh, yes, you have to know red team attacks. You have to be familiar with attacks. And that's why you should network and have red team friends, because I will call Tanisha, I will call, Chantel and be like, hey, can you explain this to me? Explain credential stuffing to me because I don't get it. Explain why I should care about this encoded URL. How would you use it? What would you do? How would you weaponize this? And once you understand that, you can do what's called detection engineering, which is another part of my job, where I look at attacks, I talk to our red team, and I watch how they do it. And this is what we call purple team meetings. You guys may have heard of that term. But in our purple team meetings, we watch the results of our red team do an attack. And then we go, okay, how would we detect it here? How would we detect it here? How would we slow the attacker down here? And we build that defense in depth with our red team. And so, yeah, you have to be familiar with attacks. You got to know them. You just got to know them.
So you said that you have like not a entry-level SOC. What does an entry-level SOC look like? What kind of skills do you have to have? And then like, I guess, what differentiates what you're doing with an entry level? Like, what do you need additionally to be able to come work for you?
So personally, I think entry level should mean it just that. It's weird to me that the term entry level is up for debate on within our community. Like, entry level means you are entering, you have no experience, you're not expected to have any experience. Maybe you're expected to know some basic terminology, but you're not expected to know any experience. But if I'm talking to somebody who has absolutely no technical experience and they say to me, I want my first job to be a SOC analyst. My first thing would be, okay, well, you need to learn how computers work. Full stop. Like, you need to know how a computer works. And unfortunately, this is one of the things I think that people skip, right? So it's like, you need to know what happens when you enter your username and password on a Windows computer. What happens? Where does it log that? Where does that look like in the registry? You need to know what a registry is. You need to know where to find logs. You need to know where to find all of those things. And that's where we start in my course. We start with endpoint analysis, because, do you know what a prefetch file is? And do you know why that's important? So yeah, I mean, actually, I don't think an entry-level person would know what a prefetch file is, but I think you should learn basically how computers work. Me personally, if I was hiring an entry-level SOC role, they would need to know basically how Windows and Linux work. They would need to know the basics of those two operating systems, and they would need to know the basics of networking. To me, that's good enough for an entry-level SOC position. The difference in my SOC is we require at least 1 year of help desk, networking, or systems engineering experience, or systems administrator experience. And the reason we require that is because we don't teach those basic skills. We're not going to teach you how the OSI model works. We're not going to teach you networking. We're not going to teach you, those basic things I was talking about. Like, one of the questions I asked for interview in my interviews is, if I want to know when an application was first installed, and I want to know it conclusively, I don't want there to be any question about it, where would I go look? And I need a person to know that in an interview. It's the prefetch file, by the way, for anybody who wants a quick answer. Prefetch file don't lie. But those are the things I ask. Or another thing we do in our interviews is we give somebody a packet capture and we say, hey, we ask a few questions. We tell them, identify the user agent string, identify what the URL that this computer made a GET request to. Did it make a GET request? What kind of HTTP request did it make? There's an error code. There's an error code 200, there's an error code 400, and there's an error code 500. Which one of those should we be worried about? Those are the kind of questions that we ask in our interviews. And like I said, we don't have an entry-level SOC, but they are out there. So for anybody who wants to break into cybersecurity, who's starting from zero, take your computer, whichever operating system you're working on, whether it's Windows, Linux, or Mac, and learn how it works. That's where you start first, right? Like, learn how that system works. So ask yourself from the very start, you turn on your computer, where the hell is that logged? It sounds trivial, right? But when we're doing an investigation, those are the things we look for. Right? If we're looking for malware and we're following the incident response process, one of the first questions we ask is, when did this is scope, right? So in the incident response process, we scope things out. And the first part of that is, when did it get here? How did it get here? Where did it come from? And where is it in our environment? The first part of that is, when did it get here? What's the earliest instance that we've seen of this particular executable or file? Right? Or whatever it is, it may not be a file. What's the earliest instance we've seen of this? And so knowing I know where to go look for when files got to a system is important. And you can start on your computer, right? If you're using Linux and you install a program or you install a gzip file, do you know where to go look for when that gzip file hit that system? Those are the basic things that you start with. And you can start on your system for free. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to sign up for any subscription. Although I do recommend, if you're starting off, the Try Hack Me Intro to Windows, Intro to Linux path. I do recommend those. They're really good. They talk about core process. Oh, that's another thing. I ask in my interviews, like, what's the first process ID that starts on a Windows machine? And it's the same for every Windows machine, right? Or it should be. It should be. But that's one of the things we look for, because if I'm examining the endpoint and I see a process ID 2, I'm just like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be there. Nothing starts before system. System is process ID 4. That's weird to me. It's weird to me that there's a process ID 2. And so I go investigate that, and you put that together with the knowledge of what I know about Windows, what I know about attacks that change process IDs, and that's how you start to sort of put that kill chain together. Sorry, that was a big long ass answer.
So if you're starting from zero, you mentioned this a little bit a while ago. If you're starting from zero, you're saying, hey, go to Try Hack Me, check out the Intro to Linux, Intro to Windows path. What other, I guess, online tools would you use besides setting up a home lab in your own, in your own computer for free? What else would you do if you wanted to, direct somebody to get started on a blue team path?
I'll reiterate. Love Try Hack Me. Their blue team path is great. I would start there. Definitely set up a home lab. Start reading. Let me go just to my cyber reading bookmark. So Krebs on Security is great. Dark Reading is great. Alien Vault has a blog, CrowdStrike has a blog, Microsoft Security Response. So just start reading everybody's blog. And again, Feedly is a really great source to do this because you can pull all of these into sort of like a timeline of stuff. And whenever I do this for BGH, I'll show you guys a little hack I use with the app Feedly, with Feedly and Pocket. Essentially, you take Feedly and you forward it to Pocket. Pocket turns it into an audio file, and then you can just have it read the entire timeline to you. It's pretty dope. And it works through APIs, which is great because I don't like using my credentials, but just reading about what attacks happen, and not the like romanticized, like exaggerated versions that we see on social media, right? It's like, you read about Sunburst and you hear about this huge ransomware that hit the supply chain. No, go find how it works. Like, go actually find the write-up. Like, a lot of us blue teamers, we got an early Christmas present from Java for Log4j, or Log4j is how some people pronounce it. We call, in the blue team circles, we call it the nightmare before Christmas. Sock books. Yeah, I'm gonna get on that. I'm gonna get on that for sure. Because I'm actually writing one. Spoiler. That's just a little teaser. But we got an early Christmas present. So if you're looking to get into that, it's like go read about it, right? And find out, what was it? What are all these people on the internet talking about? What are all these memes about? Why do we care about a 50-year-old logging? It's not really 50 years old. A logging application. Why do we care? What's the problem with it? And really learn how that works. What else would I recommend for SOC people? Learn networking. You have to know it. You have to know it really, really well. And I'm going to be really specific. Learn ports, protocols, and how addressing works. If you see, you need to be able to look at something and say, hey, I see an external address in port 3389, and you need to know exactly why that's a problem. You need to know exactly why that's a problem if you see it in a log. And I'm not going to give that answer because that'll be something good for you guys to research. But you need to know exactly why 3389 on the internet is a problem. Tanisha will give you something free if you write the answer in the chat. She always has free stuff to give. But you need to know why that's a problem. Shout out to you, Matthew. You need to know why that's an issue. You need to know why, port 21 sitting out in a cloud instance is a problem, right? You need to understand why these things are a problem. So learn networking, ports, protocols, and addressing. Learn it, hands down.
So you mentioned social media. So who are you following? Who is dropping gems on social media? Like, there's a lot of folks, I think, who are dropping disinformation, or that are just trying to, I think, get rich quick. But who would you say is dropping like quality information? Who would you suggest?
Okay, so I mentioned him earlier, Henry from Textual Chatter. His personal friend, also one of those people I can vouch for, an experienced blue teamer, experienced SOC professional. He's also in the career space, but he's not somebody who just wants to recruit people. He's actually an experienced SOC manager, an experienced incidents responder, and he is just a brilliant guy. And you can check his YouTube out, Textual Chatter. He has a podcast, I also follow him. Diera, that's my homegirl. Follow her. Absolutely brilliant. I left the networking world years ago, so she often gives me a little bit of a refresher because I've forgotten a lot of that stuff. Who else do I follow? Let's see. Let me just pull it up. Sean Martin from ITSP magazine.
ITSP.
Yeah, he's good people. Really, really smart guy. Let's see. Samara. I think her name is like Samara with 2 extra A's, RW on Twitter. She's super smart. And she has some hiring power. Who else do I follow? Kevin Mitnick. Don't know anything about him personally, but he's just one of my favorite hackers of all time. I follow him. Marcus, I mean, you gotta follow Marcus. He is on the Black Tech Mount Rushmore. You gotta follow Marcus.
That's Marcus J. Carey for those of you who are
sorry. See, that's how common it is. Everybody just says Marcus, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. Tanisha, obviously you.
I'd say John.
I was gonna say my crew. Jay Bizzle, you gotta follow Jay Bizzle. I was trying to save my crew for last. So Jay Bizzle, Tanisha, Root, Tyrone. Tyrone is another great person to follow.
Tyrone Wilson of Cover 6.
Yes, me. If you want the cybersecurity stuff, follow me before 10 p.m. Somebody takes over my Twitter account at night. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that guy.
I like him too, though.
He's pretty fun. He's pretty fun. When I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what are you talking about? Why did you go on a 14 tweet rant about waffles versus pancakes? That's
feeling cute, might delete later.
Yes, always delete later. Always delete later. That's who I follow.
Before we open up to, I guess, questions and answer, I always ask, what does your world domination plan look like? What does that look like? I know it's probably evolved over the course of the last couple of years, but what's it look like today?
Yeah. Okay. So today, I'm probably leaving the world of SecOps soon. I enjoy it. I like it, but I think I just really been getting into cloud a lot lately. I just really been getting into cloud a lot lately, and it's less work. it's less work. For me, I'll probably be leaving SecOps soon, and that kind of what I was alluding to earlier. One of the things I want to do before I leave the SecOps world completely is I want to write a book. It's called the SOC Bible. I'm working on it, and it's basically just everything I've learned. I'm just gonna dump it in a book. I'm just gonna dump everything I've learned in a book and say, here is everything that's made me successful in a SOC. Every single mistake I've ever made, I'm putting in a book. Like the time I blocked Google. I didn't block Google. I blocked the hash for Chrome. I've blocked the hash for Chrome before. I blocked the hash for Outlook before, and it uninstalled. It ripped it out of thousands of computers. But shit, we knew our EDR worked really, really well. I mean, it just ripped it out of thousands of computers. And imagine like a company just losing email. It was insane. That was me. I did it. So yeah, that's what's next for me.
So what's the end goal?
Cloud architecture.
So I know at some point you wanted to go and teach, and I think that you had goals of being a SOC manager by like last year, but I think you hit that goal, a while back. So what is the, before you retire? What does that look like?
I want to be CISO. Probably I want to be a CISO. And the goal for me there is to be a Black CISO and hire Black leaders and Black security practitioners who, would otherwise not get the chance. There were two Black men early in my career who gave me chances. Mr. Spots, number one, who gave me a chance to work at Spots Computer Repair in 2007 because I needed money for food and weed in college. Sorry to say that on your live, but but he gave me a chance. I walked in and was like, "Hey, I know computers," and he was like, "Do you?" He's like, "I'll pay you for the day," and that was like a Tuesday. I just walked in there and I had a D-band disk with me, and I had a couple of virus removal programs on a portable apps thumb drive, and I worked in the computer shop that day, and he told me what day to be there again the next day, and I filled out some paperwork. So he gave me a chance. And then another Black guy, Brad Nelson, gave me a chance to work on a help desk and also promoted me to my first help desk lead position. And if it wasn't for them, don't know if my career would have gone the way it would have gone. So that's sort of my motivation to become CISO. And obviously my other dream, which probably kind of lead me into retirement, I'd like to teach cybersecurity at an HBCU. I don't think we have enough of those programs at HBCUs. And so me and Tanisha often talk about this, of just like her teaching and having like a red team, and me teaching and having like a blue team, and us doing like a mayhem, and obviously us winning, but us doing like a red versus blue. No, we would murder you guys. We would.
Yeah, I'm
Challenge.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. If anybody wants to join my blue team and train for 6 months and go against Tanisha's red team, put it in the comments. Like I'm starting something. I'm not gonna do that.
Yo, let's do it. So questions for my friend Eric. What was I about to say? So according to you, let you tell it, you don't need a degree, you don't need certifications, you really just need to network. You really just need to know, who it is that's doing it and who's doing it well.
I think that'll get you started. I think HR is going to be difficult there. The degree thing, I'm almost at a point where I'm like 100% you don't need a degree. Will it help? Absolutely. I want to make that clear. It is the path of least resistance. Please don't get me wrong. Do you need it? No, you absolutely don't. Certifications at some point you're going to need.
And what do you need for to do what you do? What certifications?
Security Plus for sure. I want to say the CYSA because it is one of the best SOC analyst certs out there. It doesn't get the credit it deserves. And Blue Team 1 is also just another really good one. They're not showing up on job descriptions yet, and I don't know why. Those are the two best. CYSA and Blue Team 1 are the two best SOC certifications on the market. I mean, they are just hands down the best. And Blue Team Security also has their online training platform, by the way. Blue Team Online. You guys should check that out. And they have a couple of free exercises on there. But Security Plus for sure to get you started. And then I think you should figure out what you want to do from there. But I'll start with the Security Plus. And I would say that to a red team or a blue teamer.
So someone says, how do you feel about Splunk? The certifications.
So from a SOC standpoint, we use Splunk as a tool. You don't necessarily have to be certified in it. You should know how to search. You should know how to build dashboards. You should know how to build correlation searches. I don't know that you need a certification for that. The Splunk certifications, to my knowledge, are for people who want to be Splunk engineers. So if you want to be a Splunk engineer, I think the Splunk certifications will help. I think that if you're just looking to work in security where you're going to be using Splunk as a SIEM tool, then, just knowing how to search, knowing how to write dashboards, and knowing how to do correlation searches is probably all you need. I don't think you need a certification for that.
LA?
Looks like you're on mute, bro.
Let me see if we have to unmute you.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So the reason I asked that is because I'm actually new to cybersecurity. I graduated from a boot camp 6 months ago.
Congratulations.
So I'm like fresh out. I'm transitioning from being a stay-at-home parent. So I have no certs, no college degree. I'm actually going for my second interview for a junior SOC position.
Nice.
Like 3 weeks. So that's why I was asking about Splunk, because they're setting up a whole new operation where I'm going. And then the guy is new himself. He's been doing analysts for other companies for 10 years. And I'm just trying to, as a brother, make sure I kind of can get ahead of the game.
You gotta be. You know
what I'm saying? I want to know what stuff I need to look at. And I see like him, he has all the Splunk stuff, but he don't have any other kind of certs. He's just focused on log analysts, look like.
So yeah, he's probably building out the SIEM. So detection engineering and working in a SIEM as an analyst are a little bit different. So I do a lot of detection engineering, right? So I build a lot of the components that go into Splunk, whereas our analyst, the thing we need them to know how to do, right, is to be able to pivot to some sort of search, right? So you definitely want to learn Splunk, how to do Splunk searches, and you can learn that by reading the documentation, and also there are a lot of great YouTube videos on just how to search for things in Splunk. Oh, again, you guys, I'm not endorsing TryHackMe. TryHackMe has a Boss of the SOC walkthrough. Finish that and remember those commands. There's a tstats command at the beginning of Boss of the Sock that I use all the time. I have it in a Word document, and it's the first command I type every day. And it basically just lists out all the indexes and source types in Splunk. So do the Boss of the Sock walkthrough. If you're interested in Splunk, that is a whole nother job. So yeah, but if you're interested,
I was going to also say we have Range Force, which has some Splunk things in there, some Splunk tracks in there. So our next question is discussing your work-life balance. So I know you are a bartender and you are a yogi. I think that's appropriate. What else what does the work-life balance look like for you?
Yeah, so you got to have work-life balance. Take a lot of time away from screens. So like Tanisha mentioned, I do bartending. I have my license. I don't do it professionally. I got my license for fun, but I love bartending. I love making cocktails for friends at home, at events, at social gatherings. I'm into yoga. I'm a huge Peloton fanatic. I love my bike. I ride it all the time. And then I actually brought some of my favorite stuff here. So let me see. I got this thing, my Switch. I actually keep this on my desk. And I know it's not technically a screen break, but sometimes when I'm just really frustrated and I just need to take a pause, I literally will just sit here and play Zelda until I die and then get back to work. What else? I got my Kindle Paperwhite because I don't like to read on the apps. I try to get away from the blue lights at some point. So I use my Paperwhite before bed to read. This bad boy. This is my favorite thing. So this is, Tanisha, I think I told you about this when I first got it. My sleep mask, my silent mode sleep mask. So it's basically, it's a sleep mask that you put on and it has headphones in it, right? It has headphones in it and like it's completely blacked out. So you can't see anything and it's soft and it's comfortable. And I put this on for like 20 minutes and it puts you to sleep so fast. And it's Bluetooth. You can hook it to your phone and it'll just put you to sleep so fast.
So someone wants to know whether or not you need to learn programming.
Hold on,
I know
sorry,
you do a lot
I
of.
lost you. Let me.
Oh, sorry.
1 second. These things just died. Hold on. All right. What was that? I didn't hear you.
Oh, someone wanted to know whether or not you needed to know programming. I know you do a lot of scripting. Do you need to know how to program?
You don't need to. It really, really helps. It really, really helps. I mean, even if it's something as simple as just knowing regex, because you're going to use regex a lot to parse through logs. I would recommend learning PowerShell or Python, at least one, preferably both. I would recommend learning those. And because I am always ever prepared, I have 2 books that I recommend for learning both. The first one is this one, PowerShell Crash Course. It's pretty thick, but a lot of it is just examples and like output walkthroughs. Definitely recommend this one. Throw that on the floor, pick that up later. And then this one, PowerShell Scripting in a Month of Lunches. I recommend going through both of these. I think you should know at least one scripting language, or you can learn Bash. This book is a good book for Bash, Linux Basics for Hackers.
So
that's a good one for
YouTube. Does SOC still use Security Onion?
So I don't know very many people who use it in production. I actually do know one company who uses it in production. I think the idea behind Security Onion is more so learning how to use a SIEM, right? Because once you learn the basic principles and process of using a SIEM, you can kind of translate that to something else. So like the elk stack language is different from what's Splunk's SPL, but the process is sort of the same.
Okay, and so someone wants to know, after CEH and Security Plus, what certification would you suggest? And then someone else wanted to know what cloud certs are you leaning towards?
So after CEH and Security Plus, I think you should, if you're focused strictly on Blue Team, I think after CEH and Security Plus, I think you should maybe work for a while, maybe get some maybe work for a while before you get any more certs. But there are some, I guess, some what do you call them? Supplemental skills that you can get certified in. I like the MITRE ATT&CK Defender certification from MITRE Ingenuity. It teaches you all about threat intelligence and how to threat hunt and how to use threat intelligence. So I like those. But I think from there you work for a while, get better, specialize in something, maybe give yourself a couple of years and then go after your CISSP, because you may want to go into leadership. You may want to go into another specialty, more specialized section or more specialized form of technology like cloud security. And then somebody said, I had a question about cloud.
Yeah, what certifications are you leaning towards?
Depends on which cloud vendor you're going with. I mostly work with GCP, so I'm going for the GCP certs. Depends on which cloud vendor you want to work with. I also recommend the CCSK and the CCSP. They're both vendor neutral and they cover overall cloud security. So I recommend both of those.
All right, so it is 3:00, so I want to be respectful of everybody. Sunday, any last minute gems you want to drop? I know you have a class that you're teaching coming up with Cover 6 Solutions. I think it's next week, maybe 2 days from now.
Yep.
What else you got going on?
Starts on Tuesday. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. My DMs are mostly open. And you can message me, you can @, me. Tanisha knows how to get in touch with me. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm very, very open about answering questions. And yeah, I love the squad. You guys have a special place in my heart. So
are you open with people connecting with you on LinkedIn?
I am.
Okay. All right. So follow him on LinkedIn, Eric Thomas. All right. Bestie, I appreciate you as always for coming out and hanging out. And I think we probably need to do one where we're just talking about your threats. And then I think we need to see Tequila eat at some point, because I feel like he needs his own platform.
He needs a YouTube page. That dude is wild, man.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. I appreciate all of your time. And Eric, thank you for hanging out with us on our first Bring a Hacker to Work day back from the new year. So
absolutely. Bye, everybody. Happy New Year.